Hey, it's Watch Complications. I'm Brian. Hit that subscribe button and the bell if you want updates. Follow me on Instagram at watch_complications and check out my website, watchcomplications.com. Super excited about this video. It's a watch I've been waiting on since late 2020. We are going to take a look at the Vario 1918 trench watch and what I believe is the Microbrand watch of 2021. I understand that is quite a statement, but considering the other types of things that are on the market, Microbrand world, which is pretty active these days, although it's taken a different trajectory during the pandemic, they've come out with something that is both classic and modern, vintage and current, that just blows out the competition, in my estimation, in terms of the design, the aesthetics, the materials you're getting for the price. It's just unmatched currently, and it is the watch to have in the Microbrand world 2021. This is not a prototype. This is the real deal. They've started shipping. I've also got one of the silicone bracelets on, one of the many accessories that Vario sells. I'll put links in the description below along with the timeline so you can skip around. Now, it's no secret, if you've watched some of my other videos, my channel, that I'm a fan of Vario. It's a Singapore-based micro brand. They make all kinds of watch accessories, but also watches. And yeah, I have a good relationship with them. But still, when I get a watch, I consider it for its pros and its cons. This is just one that's really hit a nerve, a good one, for watch enthusiasts. And that's clear by the success of the Kickstarter campaign. And it goes along with other things that are sort of in the psyche currently with the watch world. Trench watches and the World War I era and the early 20th century was all about pocket watches and this sort of classic big numerals, lume look. For example, we've had movies and recent books on the Radium Girls, which this is the era we're talking about. Whenever we had pocket watches, a heavy need for the military to have watches, and all of the fallout from that regarding radium. Just an interesting, sad in a way, but also an encouraging, looking toward the future focus on well-being when it came to watchmaking. It's just amazing stories there. But you have this classic era of the transition between the pocket watch and the wristwatch. And that's been captured here in a package that you just don't see very often. Things like actual wired lugs, for example, this enamel dial with the small seconds at 6. It's just an excellent implementation of, I think, something that has been an itch for a lot of enthusiasts. It's finally here, and the success of the campaign says that. So what we'll do is go through the specs. I'll talk pros and cons, and we'll take an up-close macro view, and I'll throw in some pictures here and there. We'll just have a generally good time. So let's take a look at the Vario 1918 trench. All right, so let's go through the specs on this Vario 1918 trench. The diameter is about 37 millimeter, which is fairly small from what I usually like on my wrist, which is 40 to 42 millimeter. If you were to wear this with a regular two-piece strap or a NATO or something, it might look kind of small. Depending on your wrist size. Mine is about 19 centimeters, 7.5 inches. So not a small wrist, but this bund strap gives it that extra width and sort of size on the wrist, which gives it a great overall presence, so that even though it's a little bit on the small side for me, it looks just right on this particular strap. The lug to lug on this with these wired lugs is about 44 to 45 millimeter. Now on the website, it says the case height is a little over 10 millimeter. But my guess is that measurement is without the domed crystal. I measured case back to top of crystal is around 12.1 millimeter. So even with that added height of the dome of crystal, it's still a really nice height at 12.1 millimeter. I measured the weight at about 67.35 grams. So even with the extra leather and the size due to that, it still feels really light and it doesn't feel heavy on the wrist. The water resistance is 10 ATM, so we've got a good 100 meter water resistance, 300 feet. So the lug width is 18 millimeter. That's the strap width you'd want to go for. I did measure on the inside of the lug, it's about 18.3, so it's a little on the high end of that, but that's the lug width. The crystal is sapphire, double domed, has AR coating underneath, and even though it is domed, and you get a little bit of glare, it's actually not that bad. And I've got all kinds of light on. The sun's out. I got a couple big lights in here and screen light, and it's actually pretty good. The reflection's still pretty low on this. Now, depending on which version of this trench watch you got, the lume's going to be different colors. This is white lume, and it looks amazing. It's C3 Superluminova. It's a wonderful, long-lasting lume, and there's just no complaints there. Of course, I'll be throwing up pictures throughout this video, and I'll include lume shots. The case is good old 316L stainless steel. You can see it transitions between brushed on the sides, and then we've got a polish on the lugs and the bezel. Same thing with the crown. It's got a nice little cutout around the sides of it. It's got coined edge. You can see it's signed with the Vario V, and it's a screw down crown. I really do like the way the crown is done on this watch. Case back is solid. See, it says automatic, sapphire, Singapore, which is where Vario is based. We've got our depth rating, stainless steel, and then we have the date of World War I armistice, when that was signed, 11/11/1918, signifying the end of World War I. Now, the movement we're dealing with here is the Miyota 82S5. It's a 21 joule, 21.6 BPH automatic movement. It's a little bit on the generic side of things, but that helps contribute to the lower cost of this watch, which this was a Kickstarter campaign. I got in early, so I got it for about, I don't know, 250 bucks, just something crazy low whenever you think about what you're actually getting and what Vario sends with these watches in terms of straps and other things. But the pre-order price is just shy of $300 US right now, about $292 US. Of course, that depends on currency rates and stuff, but the pre-order is around $300 US. It will be going up when the pre-order is over to about $370 US. So if you want one, order one now. As to basics, let's talk pros and cons. This watch has a lot of pros and just a couple potential cons. This thing has a lot going for it. So first, and I think the most important thing, is this has just an amazing mix, a blend of vintage and modern, history and the current times. It is really a modern trench watch, and it has that aesthetic through and through. So what are these classic characteristics? Well, with the white on white model, where we have white lume on the white enamel dial, of course there's the black dial, there's a gray dial, the cream colors, but we have these sort of standout things that have just notes of history in them. That's like the train track chapter ring. We've got the red here at 12, where that red could be a numeral like 12, or maybe sometimes in the sub-dial on different older vintage watches. But we've got the train track, we've got these numerals that are just shadowed, large, heavily lumed, and stand out in any kind of light from about any direction. And the dial is just this beautiful enamel. You just don't see enamel dials too much on the modern market, and it's just wonderful to see it done fairly well in this price range. And I've got porcelain dials, they look good. I've got some old, pocket watches with enamel dials, but here I've got a watch that's made in 2021, and it's just a beautiful enamel dial. Some of these other classic sort of motifs. We've got this small sub-seconds at 6. Cuts off a little bit of the 6. Some people like that, some people don't. Doesn't bother me at all. Of course, with that sub-dial, we've got this small seconds hand with a little bit of a counterbalance, and we've got cathedral hands. Again, just this old school look that you just can't go wrong with it, particularly if you're a fan of pocket watches and the like. Given all of these characteristics that make this watch feel like 1918, early 20th century, wartime or pocket watch era, it's got all of that stuff. But what really gives this watch the trench feels is the wired lugs. It's just something you don't see done, at least not true wired lugs. There's some workarounds to this with screwing them in and then connecting them in the middle, and there's all kinds of ways that these are done. These are actual solid wired lugs, and it was just a smart decision to go with that. There's always a temptation to get away from that with a traditional lug style, or maybe something that's not fully committed, you might want to say, to being a real wired lug. These things are in the case, they're going nowhere. It's solid the whole way underneath of this strap. and it was just a smart decision, makes it stand out from the crowd when it comes to this category. Of course, what soldiers or people were doing back in the day was they would have taken a pocket watch and soldered, wires onto the end so they could fasten a strap and take what was a pocket watch, but then be able to wear it on the wrist. And so eventually over time, these became known as wired lugs. And we've got that tradition here in the way it should be done. I mentioned I like the crown. It is very easy to interact with. My suggestion to you is don't try to interact with a watch like this on a bone strap and try to unscrew the crown with it against here. Just put your fingers underneath and lift it up a little bit, right? Or pull out the side that releases from the extra piece of leather there, and then you can unscrew, wind, set the time, makes it a whole lot easier. Again, it is a screw down crown, and it's one of the big pros of this watch. Now when it comes to watches, where Vario has a lot of their business is in straps, and that manufacturing pipeline for those, they make really good straps of all kinds. I've reviewed them before in the past. It's a really good high quality strap. Like I said, it's crazy horse leather. It's got a soft feel to it. They always do good types of brushing. This is a brushed buckle. You can see it's got the name etched on the buckle, just like the signed crown. These little things that are a little extra cost, they go through them and do them, which just adds to the overall look and experience of wearing the watch. Then we have the transitions between the polished and brushed surfaces. So the back is brushed, and then up to the side, it's got a great satin look to it. Crown's got some polishing, the bezel and lugs are polished. Of course, then we have the brushed buckle. So these transitions of the metals give it this great visual appeal and look, catches light in certain ways that just draw attention to the dial. Now, Ivan did make some videos for how to change out the straps. I really do like this bone strap. The way these attach is they're actually screws on the back. So you take a screwdriver, you got to kind of put pressure with your finger on the other side so it kind of holds in place and just doesn't spin when you get when you're just untightening or whenever you're tightening it up and you're getting close to having it all the way. So you unscrew this and then it just pops off there and you pull it off and you put other kinds of straps on it. So that's how you would take off this and replace it. I won't show you that just because there's already video out there on it. Now what most people probably got, I would imagine, or maybe it was 50-50, who knows, is a case back that has a soldier etched and flowers barbed wire. And so you had these two options for the case back. And I wanted the extra one that was solid, unetched, and I could change this out if I wanted to. Now I have the brass medic version coming. I can't wait for that. The big difference with that one, obviously, than other, it's brass, and I've got the cream and orange dial. It's got a 40 millimeter diameter, but it comes with the etched back on it. So I figured I'd get the regular trench here with a solid unetched case back, and then I'll have the brass version, which will have this soldier etching on it. So there are a couple options. You could also get them engraved for a cost. Of course, when it comes to Vario, anyone who's interacted with the company and Ivan and Judy specifically, whether that's in emails or calls or any kind of communication, they're just like the nicest people. And there's always little cards and notes and the stuff they send. Every once in a while they'll surprise me with something extra. I do a lot of work with them. They are just a nice breath of fresh air when it comes to the microbrand world specifically, but just nice people to talk to and work with. And that means a lot. It helps build brand loyalty and trust, and it's customer service and all of those wonderful things that go along with a good relationship with a maker. That is a pro for me, is the people that you're dealing with when it comes to a company. You buy the maker, you buy the person, right? And that's really what I've done with Vario, and I have a few of their watches and a lot of their products beyond that, whether that's straps and bracelets and trays and pods and all kinds of accessories, is you're buying the people at the end of the day. Of course, the loom is excellent. No argument there. It's just flies off the dial at night. It's just great. And for those who have watched the channel much or know much about me, I love small seconds at 6. I also love simplicity. I've talked about this I don't know how many times, and I will continue to highlight that in videos I do on reviews, on design, on making, is just simplicity. And here we have the time, the small seconds at 6, just basic numerals, simple minute track, and that just wins out for me at the end of the day. Just can't not go wrong. These numerals are excellent. They're shadowed on this model. They're not necessarily on all of them, depends on the color combination, but the shadowing is great. They're raised a little bit due to that lume being applied, and they're just so well defined. And even the small printing, everything is just spot on. And I don't watch a ton of other review stuff that's out there. I do enough to pick up little bits of what other people are thinking and whatnot. I know when this watch was on Kickstarter and there were prototypes going around to reviewers and stuff, there was, when people search for cons on something, they come up with things that are sometimes pointless or ridiculous. They're kind of stretching for it. One of those things was the logo, that it's too modern or looks strange. Like, that's the point. One of the most beautiful aspects of this watch is the blend, the mixing of modern and vintage. And you have a modern styled logo in a very, simple font. You've got that V that has those little dots on the end. When people say this is too modern of a look for this style of watch, or I don't know what all, but they're wrong. That's the point, is to take classic style and bring it to the now, make it modern. The logo helps do that. It's not an over-the-top logo. It's short, simple, to the point, and it just says, hey, this is 2021 and we're celebrating 1918. So don't let those little thoughts get in the way of what is the actual point of producing a watch like this. There are a couple potential cons. That's not one of them. So are there any cons worth mentioning? I always say every watch has its pros and cons, even ones that you're basically in love with. I'm going to be wearing this thing all the time. This is like my new daily. So what are they? Well, both of the ones that I have with this watch are movement related. So case excellent, dial excellent, design, strap, everything is good. What comes down to for me is the movement. Now it's okay. I mentioned it is generic, the Miyota 82S5, but this is going to vary from person to person because every movement coming out of the factory, some of them might be more regulated than others. Some of them just might be better than others, got past quality control barely, or with flying colors. It kind of just varies a lot. Here's the potential cons you might have. Mine's a little bit loud, the rotor. So I can hear it more than I do on most of my other watches. Not all of them. I've had some watches with really loud rotors, and this is going to, potentially bother some people, not others. Depends on things and your environment and stuff. But when I've got this on the wrist, I can hear a little bit more than I do some of my others. And if you're in a room with, like, say, music, you're having conversations, talking to people, just going about your normal business, you're not going to notice it. You might feel a little bit of a wobble there, but not too bad. But whenever you're quiet and sitting and there's not much going on and you move your wrist around, you might hear that rotor spinning around and clicking a little bit. Here, let me put it up to the mic and give you a little bit of sound to it. I'll shake it a little bit. If you hear that little clicking, that's when it's about to stop. It's almost a little bit of a grinding sound, a clutch and everything going in there. It's okay. Again, it's not too annoying, but it is something to mention. The second thing is the accuracy with this particular movement. It's got a pretty broad range. Again, generic movement, we're talking somewhere between -20 to +40 seconds a day. That's the spec sheet on this movement. So that's not great if you're into Kosk movements and fancy in-house calibers that have amazing accuracy, that kind of stuff. Or there's a lot of just good workhorse movements out there that just get regulated really well, and you're used to something that's plus or minus 5 seconds a day. This one, as I got it on the time grapher, was give or take around -10 a day. I always prefer if a watch is on the positive side. I'd rather be ahead than behind. So it's something, if I ever open it up to do any work service on it, or change maybe the case back to the etched one, I'll regulate it. So right now, mine's losing about 10 seconds a day. The amplitude was a little bit all over the place, but it's starting to settle down. Something to keep in mind when you get a new watch. I've been wearing this for about 3 days at the time I'm filming this part of the video. That mainspring needs some exercise. It could have been sitting on the shelf for a while, and it's just starting to get a really good workout. So, wind it up, get it fully wound, and wear it a lot. It'll start to settle in. And as I was doing some initial testing, with it about half wound, I was getting a lot more sporadic timekeeping and a fairly low amplitude, around 220, which is really low for amplitude. But get it fully wound up, and that timing gets a little bit more steady, and amplitude was up over 300 was where it should be. And you might also see some beat error variance from 0.0 up to what I saw was 0.4. Again, that's going to depend on the one you get, and that's the only potential con I see with this watch, is the specific movement, and that's going to vary from one to the next. So no huge complaints at all about this watch. I love this. Is going to be a daily wear. It's just amazing. Can you tell? I like it, but don't expect superb mechanical accuracy. You're going to get okay mechanical accuracy with this Miyota 82S5. But the con has a pro to it. The fact that it's a lower cost generic movement means that you can get a lower cost price point overall and still have really cool stuff going on. So you take an okay so-so movement. You couldn't have that at under $300 if you put in an ETA or even a Silhouette or the top grade movement from Seiko, or all that kind of stuff. No, you have an amazing choice in straps. Leather comes with extras. You have little fine touches like having the name on the buckle etched, the signed crown, sapphire domed crystal enamel, C3 lume, choices on different styles of case back with etched, unetched, or engraved with custom stuff that you might want. It's just screw down crown. There's so many pros to it that it's like, I'll take an okay movement, because at under $300 right now for pre-order, it's like a no-brainer. It's too good of a deal. And the fact that it comes with other accessories, I'll take the okay movement for that price. Of course, with the beautiful enamel dial, this is one we want to get under the macro lens. Take an up close look at it, kind of see what we're dealing with. Probably going to struggle to find too much imperfection. That printing, particularly around the subdial, is quite good, even at that very, very fine scale. Not seeing any, think of it as bubbling or little pits, divots in the lume. Looks consistent, strong. The outlining, very accurate. Shadow effect, very accurate. You can see it's a little bit thicker on the right side than the left side of the numerals. The hands are sort of a gunmetal color, but of course in some light they'll look like still silver color, or a lot of times black, right? Just depending on the light. See the polishing there on the bezel and the lugs. See the brushed sides of the case. Flip this around, take a look at the crown. See there. Again, that sort of contrast in polishing. If you get yours, or you get one of these and you see a little blue in the V where that was etched, that's just protective sticker remnants. So what you can do is just take some sort of non-abrasive material or tool or something. I use a little piece of pegwood, but just something that's non-abrasive, not like a pair of tweezers or something sharp or something, or a Q-tip maybe, something like that. But get a little bit of water on the end of it, and you can rub that blue protective covering off of there. But There's the logo, which has like a blasted look to the logo etching, and then against that polishing. Got the name etched there on the buckle. Looks good. Look at this leather up close. Looks really nice, feels nice. On top, there was no break-in period for this leather, I will say. It was boom, nice and soft on the wrist. I particularly like Crazy Horse leather for that purpose. This is the white model, and with the white enamel dial being, very, very stark white and glossy, you have that lume. It's white as well, and to the eye, it looks white. You can maybe catch a very subtle bit of yellow or green tint to it, but to the eye, you really can't tell too much of a difference other than the fact that it's just pronounced. But you can see there is just a subtle different color for the numerals, which are loomed. That's okay. It makes them look like they're almost embossed, and they do have some height to them, as you can see. Of course, the subdial is recessed just a little bit. See the coin edge on that crown and sort of the cutaway for it. Again, subtle, nice touch. I kind of like that. Helps hold it a little bit more snug against the case. And, I like the fact that this crown, and this would have been important if, you were in the actual trenches, this crown's not sticking out. It's not going to get caught on anything. The fact that it's got the strap coming around here and this is recessed a little bit keeps that crown tucked away. You're not going to hit it, knock it around, and that kind of thing. Yeah, I've got no complaints about the quality of this watch up close. There we go. So I know I didn't do an unboxing with this, but how did this come shipped? It was a DHL and sort of a double bubble wrapped package of sorts, but it came in one of the travel pods, specifically one that was made for the trench watches. So Vario makes travel pods. This is one of the normal ones they sell. It's got kind of a subtle camo pattern to it. I've had this one for a while. I think I've shown it in some accessory videos, but really good, solid, high quality, good padding in the middle. Got a nice zipper, and rubber around here is fairly water resistant. They made one that has a little bit more of a wool feel. Looks like a pair of army trousers were made into a pod. And these things are cushioned on the inside, comes with your cleaning cloth. There's a little pouch here. The case back that was etched was stuffed inside of here. So that's how it's shipped. So you get a travel pod with it, much better than these extravagant fancy packaging boxes and stuff like that that just sit down in the basement or something. This stuff gets used. So an awesome little travel pod come with it. It did come with Kickstarter with free straps, so I have a black bone strap too. That will look great. It has a little bit more of a formal feel to it, if that makes sense. Even though this is sort of a casual style and design, the solid black against the white, that makes it look a little bit more formal-ish. This is a little bit more casual for me, so I've left it on the gray for now, but they had a variety of colors, blue and green and such, but I got a black one as well. So there was extras, right? Stretch goals and stuff on Kickstarter. Again, all for under 300 bucks. So watch with the strap, extra strap, travel pod. I paid for the case back. And then one of the other extra straps that came with it was one of the canvas NATOs. And so I got a couple of those. I got two because I also have the brass medic on the way. So I got a green one and sort of a brownish color. This is a Zulu style NATO. And then we have sort of a more regular style. So lots of straps and accessories came with this. And then, like I said, you kind of buy the person. It comes with the warranty card. It says when it was sold, basically shipped out, which one it is, 1-year warranty. And they put in little notes, thank you for your support, that kind of thing. Handwritten notes. I can imagine handwriting several hundred of those things, but Judy or Ivan, whichever one of you writes those, I feel sorry for your wrist. But they make these watch trays, and I've said this before, this is probably the best watch accessory in the world. I love these things. Let me pop out here. You can see more of my setup and my projects and stuff. So these watch trays, these things are so good to have next to the nightstand or whatever. And I wanted to get this dark brown one. I have one that says University of Horology in the middle. It's a lighter brown. And I wanted this one for my watch desk, my desk here, where I have all my computer stuff and everything. It's like, I have one for the bedroom where I set my watches when I'm kind of done in the evening and get ready to go to bed. It's like, why don't I have one of these also in here? So I ordered one of these. And then what I found in the package was 2 of them. And this was a surprise. I even said this was really more of an afterthought. So only certain backers who were either, like, I think top 5 backers, which I was number 2, or people that ordered, I can't remember, 3 or more trench watches, got this special trench watch tray, leather watch tray. And these are little buttons. You just snap them together to pin the corners together, and it's got the name there as well. But that's just it's just a cool little touch for free that came with this one. So this one's special though, because this wasn't going to everybody. Regular viewers, subscribers know that I review based on experience. Most of the stuff I get is stuff I've paid for, and it's not like this episode or anything is sponsored by Vario or anybody. I've paid a lot of money for different t-shirts or other accessories and stuff. I paid for the watches and stuff like that. I've gotten some great videos and content out of it, but it's not that I've had this product or these watches or stuff for a week or a couple of days or something like that, and then they're going to go back out. Oh, this is my watch, and I am doing reviews of the accessories and other things based on my experiences with them, and I'm just honest about them. So that's what you get here at Watch Complications. And these watch trays are the best accessory you can buy. If you like taking your watch off, at least at night, or taking a shower or something like that, having one of these around where you can just throw your watch in it, particularly if they're watches like on bracelets and whatnot, it's like the best $20 I ever spent buying the first one I did. Watch trays from Vario. Get one. The other accessories I got, I thought I'd try, never had before. I'm not into bracelets and stuff per se, but hey, I wear watches, so I thought, why not try it? So I got a couple of these silicone bracelets. This one's sort of an ivory color with a black stone, and then I've got a black one with sort of white and black marble stone, and figured these would go really well with the trench. I also just want to say that these silicone bracelets, even though they're fairly simple, and they come in a variety of colors, but just a basic silicone bracelet just for $15-18, something like that, they come in their own pouch as well that has a nice leather tab on it. That comes with protective bubble wrap around it as well. And again, something else you could use for all kinds of stuff, actually, particularly me, all the stuff I have laying around. So everything comes with its own little sort of package in a useful way, and I think it's important to keep that in mind when you buy stuff. And so let me throw this on the wrist. You can see what this watch looks like on the wrist. So yeah, it was like Christmas when this package arrived, for me anyway. And now remember, my wrist is about 7.5 inches, 19 centimeters, and even though that is a smaller 37 millimeter diameter case, it looks just perfect. This looks natural on the wrist. Again, if it didn't have that boon strap, if I had it on NATO or just regular leather or something like that, it's going to look a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit too small for my wrist, but this looks excellent. Goes really good with that silicone bracelet. No, that is not touching the case. It's another pro to having this boon strap is that it sits against that and not the side of the case. I really do believe that this is the Microbrand watch of 2021. They're getting shipped now. They're on people's wrists. If you haven't got one, give it a thought, give it a try. And I cannot wait to get the 40 millimeter Medic brass. It's just going to be so different, so unique. Again, brass is not something you see every day. The trench wired lugs is not something you see every day. And it's just going to be another great look. I'll give a good comparison video once that comes in, a review of that and comparing it with the regular 37 millimeter steel version. But can't wait to do that. And I can't wait to continue wearing this watch on a regular basis. You're going to see me with this, talking about it into the future. So let's check out. Thank you, Vario, specifically Ivan and Judy, for making this amazing watch. It was an itch that many enthusiasts maybe didn't know they had, some maybe did, and I cannot tell you how excited I was for this specific watch to arrive, because it was a Kickstarter. You know, you put in the money and then you're waiting for the production to happen. It went fairly quick, just a few months, and boom, it's here. But this is a watch that I knew I was gonna like. I couldn't wait for it. The pictures, prototypes and stuff were awesome. I get excited about watches almost irregardless of the price. But this is one where, you're in the $300 range, and it was giving me more excitement than if I got a call from an AD for a Rolex. I could almost care less about that. It's like, this is one that I knew was gonna be sort of a daily, regular wear. It's just got something about it that's both nostalgic and modern, and it's just nice. It's just nice. Yes, I get excited about watches, whether that's new Microbrand stuff, accessories, watch tools, and I just got a new watch cleaning machine. I can't wait to show you that in future videos. All things watches get me excited. This is the watch to have in 2021 if you're a fan of Microbrands and small makers. People will be trying to get this watch, knocked it out of the park, and I mean, there's just really not much else to say. Well done, and continued success, hopefully, with this product and future watches and accessories. All the information is in the description below. I'm Brian, this is Watch Complications. I am out. I'm done.